In this video, we will state the limit laws and we will work out few problems involving the limit laws. Now let limit x going to c, f of x equals L, and limit of the function g is m. As you can see, L is any real number, m is also any real number. More specifically, we don't want m to be m not equal to 0. Why is that? I will explain that to you in a moment. So we see that the limit of the function is L and limit of the function g is m, and the limit is observed at the number c. Again, c is a number, and you see both are really both the limits are measured at as x approaches c. If this is c and if this is a different number, let's say the function f is observed as x approaches 1 and g is observed as x approaches 2, then then the limit laws will not hold good. These two numbers have to be the same. Now k is any constant. We will see the use of the constant in a few minutes from now. Now basically there are a few rules. One is sum rule, difference rule, product rule, quotient rule, and constant multiple rule. You will see these rules again appearing again in among continuous functions, and these rules will appear again in the derivatives. These rules will also appear again in integrals. These are the typically kind of rules that will appear. I mean, when you even studied about the functions in algebra, you must have studied a sum rule, difference rule, product rule, quotient rule, constant multiple rule, and you must have studied the composition of the functions as well. Here we are discussing these 5 rules: sum rule, difference rule, product rule, quotient rule, and the constant multiple rule. Now here the limit of the function f of x plus g of x is limit x going to c fx plus limit of the function g as x approaches to c, and we see from the top that the limit of the function f is L and limit of the function g is m, so we write this as L plus m. Now it might look as if we are distributing the limit for each of the functions. That is true, but also if you see, this is the sum of the functions. I mean, it involves variables, but this is sum of the numbers. This is a totally different, altogether a different beast altogether. We know how to add numbers, subtract numbers, multiply and divide numbers from our younger days, but whereas adding functions, subtracting, multiplying and dividing functions, we learned it only in algebra. So on the left side, we are really adding functions first and then applying the limit. Here we are applying the limit first and then adding next. So that means you're adding the numbers, and that's going to be L plus m. Similarly, now the difference rule is limit of f of x minus g of x is going to be limit fx minus limit gx, and from the top you see that limit of the function f is L, limit of the function g is m, so you will get the difference L minus m. Once again, on the left hand side, you are subtracting the functions first, you're applying the limit next. Now on the right side, you're applying the limit first, so you get the numbers, and then you're subtracting the numbers. So this is again a different thing. Product rule is limit of the function f times g is going to be limit of the function f times limit of the function g, and limit of the function f is L, limit of the function m g is m, so you will write this as L times m. And in the quotient rule, you will write limit of the function f over g is going to be limit of the function f divided by limit of the function g. That's going to be equal to L over m. And here you don't want, like, L is a real number, m is a real number, so you do not want the division by 0. So we want to make sure that m is not equal to 0. So that division, because the division by 0 is undefined. That's the reason why we said m should be not equal to 0 here. Now the constant multiple rule is limit x going to c. K times f of x is, I mean, you see k is a constant, k is any real number. It does not involve any x in it, so you can just pull the k out of the limit. So you can write k times limit of the function f. So limit of the function f from the top is going to be L, so you're going to write this as k times L. So these are some of the limit laws. That means there is a sum rule, difference rule, product rule, quotient rule, and constant multiple rule. The most important thing from the mathematical perspective is, like, all the operations on the left hand side are on the functions, whereas all the operations on the right side are on the numbers. So that's a major difference. But, like, I mean, I don't know whether most of you would observe this or not, but that's a very big difference. Now let's go ahead and evaluate, do some problems involving the limits. So you see here the limit of the function f is 4, limit of the function g is -2, limit of the function h is 0. You see that the limits are all applied as x approaches 2. I mean, these numbers have to be the same. If they're not the same, then you cannot find the limits. So here what happens is, first you're going to use the sum rule, and then you're going to write this as limit of the function f plus 5 times limit of the function 5 times g of x. In both cases x is approaching 2. Then you would apply the constant multiple rule. Then you will see that 5 is a number, it does not involve x, so it steps outside the limit. So you're going to write this as limit x going to 2 f of x plus 5 times limit x going to 2 g of x. So you see that the limit of the function f is 4, so you can write that as 4 plus 5 times the limit of the function g is -2, so that's going to be 4 minus 10, and that's going to be -6. You see, all the we are using limit laws to apply or distribute the limit for each of the functions, and then we are performing the operation on the numbers. Now let's go ahead and evaluate the limit of the function g to the raised to the 3. So you can use a product rule here, and you can write limit of the function g of x times g of x times g of x as x approaches 2. So now you're going to using the product rule, you can write this as limit x going to 2 g of x times limit x going to 2 g of x times limit x going to 2 and a g of x. So now you will write limit of the function g of x is -2, so you're going to write -2 times -2 times -2, and upon finding the product you will get the answer to be -8. Now let's look at the another problem where you are evaluating the limit of the quotient. So using the quotient rule, here quotient rule, okay, in the previous problem we were using the product rule really, here product rule really. So limit of the quotient, and coming back to this problem, we are evaluating the limit of the quotient. So we will write limit x approaching to 2 function g of x divided by limit x approaching to 2 function h of x. So you can see that the limit of the function g is -2, whereas the limit of the function h is 0, and division by 0 is undefined. So this limit does not exist, or it is undefined. I mean, you know, that means x equals 2 is a vertical asymptote. We would ideally want to look at the graph, but I mean, we don't know the function gx and hx, so we will not be able to look at the graph or make any further comments on this problem. Now let's look at another problem here. Limit of the function, limit of this function given here. So first you will apply the quotient rule, and then write this as limit x approaching to 2 g of x times h of x divided by the limit x approaching to 2 of the function f of x. Now this is use of the quotient rule. Then you are going to apply the product rule here. So that's going to be limit x going to 2 g of x times limit x approaching to 2 h of x all over limit x approaching to 2 f of x. And that's going to be limit of the function g is given to be -2, limit of the function was given to be 0, and the limit of the function f is given to be 4, and upon simplification you get the limit to be 0. So once again, in this video what we did was we really went through the different laws of limits, and once again going back to the slide you will see that there is among the limit laws there is a sum rule, difference rule, product rule, quotient rule, and constant multiple rule. On the left hand side we are adding functions, subtracting functions, multiplying functions, dividing functions, and constant multiple of functions. But on the right side you see you're adding numbers, subtracting numbers, multiplying numbers, dividing numbers, and like you're doing that. So right side deals with numbers, the left side deals with functions. For mathematicians and in mathematics it's a big deal, but many of the students would simply see it as distributing the limit. That does not convey the whole picture. I hope this is very clear, and in the next video we will talk about finding the limits by direct substitution, factoring out, rationalization, and many other stuff. So if you have any questions, please write in the comments below.